Okay, so welcome everybody to the Parents and Families International Travel Health and Safety Orientation. We are looking forward to sharing information with you about global safety and health at Vanderbilt University. We do have a request, if you have any questions, to put them in the Q&A section at the bottom of the screen. We will have time at the end to answer questions. And let's see. If your question does not get answered, please contact the information for the office, and we'll be able to do a follow-up answer for that question. And we will also be submitting answers to the pre-submitted questions during the presentation as well. So keep an eye out for those as we go along. Okay, go ahead and get started. We will start with our objectives for today. Part of those will be meeting our team to learn more about what we do, discuss the global safety resources and understand the resources that are available through Vanderbilt and how our students should use them. Also, for health, safety, and well-being, we do encourage strongly that students should act now to plan for their personal health and well-being while abroad. And student confidentiality, be sharing some of the limitations on information that we can share about our students. All right. So here's our team. I'm the Associate Director for the Global Safety and Health, and have over 2 decades of experience within the field of international education and global safety. And that includes safety, health, and crisis response, bilingual in French and English. And I have a bachelor's from Vanderbilt in anthropology and fine art. We also have Assistant Director Tyler Walker, who is multilingual in English, Korean, and Japanese, has lived in Korea and Japan, and has a BA from University of Southern California in East Asian languages and culture. And then we have also our Global Safety Coordinator, Erin Beeman. Erin has 5 years of crisis intervention and support experience for people struggling with mental health, interpersonal and sexual violence, and substance use issues. Erin holds a bachelor's Bachelor of Arts from the University of Arkansas, Little Rock, in social and political philosophy, and is currently working towards a Master's of Science at UT Knoxville School of Social Work. So that is our team, various expertise in different areas. So for today, we're going to be looking through the resources, Global Safety and Health Team, the Vanderbilt Incident Response for Travel, or VIRT, and our International Health Insurance, GeoBlue. We'll be covering those in these next few slides. So it's important to understand that the Global Safety Team is available to student travelers to provide one-on-one advising, group advising, provide additional location-specific resources and guidance, including briefs on identity issues or information about the host location. For students who receive regular care from a physician or counselor, students can meet with us to request assistance in setting up a continuing care plan. And we find that taking this step really does go a long way to ensure that a student's experience abroad will be as successful as possible. This can include helping the student to open a case with Vanderbilt's international health insurance provider, GeoBlue, to start the process of identifying appropriate physicians or counselors in their destination. And a lot of these, establishing these care plans can be case by case. Different students will have different needs. So again, it is best to start this process earlier rather than last minute. So talking about the Vanderbilt Incident Response for Travel, the VIRT. So this is our 24/7, 365 emergency line for Vanderbilt students and actually all Vanderbilt travelers abroad. So in an emergency, students can contact VIRT at the phone number you see listed, and that can be any time of day or night, any day of the year. They would need to tell the VIEW safety dispatcher, that's who the call goes to, that they would like to report an issue to VERT, or if they forget to ask for VERT, they would indicate that they're calling from overseas, and then the VU dispatch will know to send that over to the VERT team for response. For non-emergency assistance, where the response can wait 24 hours, we encourage our students and travelers to email vert@vanderbilt.edu. That response will come within the 24 hours. So when to call, you see a list here of examples of when it is appropriate to call the emergency line, the VERT line. So hospitalization, if we've got substance-related concerns, mental health crisis, sexual assault, misconduct, and a variety of other areas that would be an sort of immediate emergency for students. And this would be in addition to contacting their on-site support. So if they have going abroad with a provider, that on-site team would be one of their main contacts. If they're not able to get through, they can surely call VERT. They can also call us first and we can notify them. It depends on what is easiest for the student at that time. Some of the limitations of VERT are, well, location. We are based in the US. And so if students need assistance with local emergency, such as plumbing, not necessarily an emergency, or navigation issue, we'll be limited in what we can do. And in those cases, especially for plumbing, then the local staff would be the best option for contact. For language, the VERT team members primarily speak English, French, Japanese, Korean, and some Spanish. If someone is calling VERT on a student's behalf and they don't speak English, French, Japanese, Korean, or some Spanish, then we may experience difficulties in communicating, which could delay our response. So that's just something to be mindful of. And then for international laws, if a student breaks a law in the country they're in, then the student is subject to the legal ramifications of that crime. VERT cannot intervene if a student gets arrested. That is strictly a U.S. Embassy matter. And the only thing that the U.S. Embassy can ensure is the student is being treated the same as a citizen of that country. Additionally, VERT cannot make any effort to change or abscond local laws, university regulations, or program partner policies in a student's favor. For academics, it's important to understand that VERT does not consult on academics, and academic issues such as course registration will not be considered an emergency by the VERT team. If a student has a question about academics, courses, or course registration, they need to contact the study abroad office and their host university or on-site support staff. So I know there were a lot of questions about GeoBlue, Vanderbilt's international health insurance. GeoBlue is more comprehensive than most plans. It includes coverage for mental health, pre-existing conditions, medical evacuation, and family visitation in cases of hospitalization. And those are just some areas that are covered. All students are required to be enrolled in GeoBlue, and it cannot be waived under any circumstance. Study abroad students are automatically enrolled through the study abroad office, and the fee for that insurance is included in the overall cost of the study abroad program. Coverage only applies outside the US and only for the official dates of their travel. Students should maintain their US-based health insurance while abroad in case they need to leave the program early and seek care at home. A recommendation that we have for our students is to partake in GeoBlue's pre-departure program. That will help them navigate or learn how to navigate the GeoBlue portal and their tools. The program will include information about consultations with clinicians prior to departure to help students understand what to expect in their host country, assistance with planning healthcare needs, guidance to quality healthcare professionals to avoid any disruptions in care. It will also cover, to sign up for the GeoBlue pre-departure program, students should begin by taking the pre-departure health questionnaire, which is on this form here, and it only takes about 10 minutes to complete. So for medications, for students who are prescribed a medication in their host country, their medications are covered at 100% because US prescriptions cannot be filled overseas. So the coverage, they can't transfer that prescription. Students would pay out of pocket and then submit a claim for reimbursement. And those claims can be submitted online through their GeoBlue member portal. Through the member portal, they can also find country-specific equivalents for prescription and over-the-counter medications. Students who are planning to travel with any controlled medications are strongly encouraged to speak with a member of the Global Safety and Health team prior to their departure. Best practices for anyone traveling with medication are leaving all medication in the original packaging. Students should request a letter from their primary care physician or prescribing provider, which outlines the medications they have been prescribed, the reason why the medications have been prescribed, and indicate what the prescribed dosage is for each medication. This letter should be on that provider's official letterhead, and the letter and all medications should be packed in the student's carry-on luggage. Students, whoops, sorry about that. There we go. Students should check their country's customs or U.S. Embassy websites to see if visitors are legally allowed to bring their medications into the host countries they're traveling to. For prescriptions or over-the-counter medications, it is important to understand that some countries may have restrictions on medications which can be brought into the country, as well as what medications are available on site. Students should speak with their current prescribing physician about refilling their prescription with enough medication to cover the entirety of their travel. The amount of medication a physician prescribes is determined based on their clinical expertise and the student's medical history. In some cases, physicians will prescribe medication which covers the student's entire time abroad, but their health insurance company may have restrictions on how much medication they will cover at one time. If this happens, students can reach out to their program provider for a letter confirming they will be abroad and indicating the length of time they will be participating on their program. And the students would then send this letter to their insurance to explain why they need more than the amount that the insurance would normally cover at one time. In rare cases, students may not be able to receive a full supply of their medication from their regular physician prior to departure, or the medication they are taking may not be legally accessible in the country they are traveling to. In these cases, students should consult with their prescribing physician and GeoBlue to determine if there is an in-country equivalent they might be prescribed by a physician in country for the duration of their time abroad. Please note that some medications require titration, a gradual decrease in dosage in order to stop taking them, or a gradual increase in dosage as a person begins taking them. The student's prescribing physician should discuss this with them if it is relevant to their medications. And this is another reason why it is best that the student contacts our office and GeoBlue as soon as possible so that these can be taken into consideration ahead of time and so that there's no lapse in their medications. Please know in nearly all cases, it is illegal to ship medications of any type internationally. It is best for the student to plan to bring medication with them, all the medication that they will need. The prescription should be, as we said before, in their original bottles with a note from the prescribing physician that outlines the dosage, the reason for the medication, and what the medication is. Students can also find a physician in country who may provide them with the same or an in-country equivalent. For finding care, students would access once they've been enrolled in GeoBlue, they will receive an email from GeoBlue with their certificate number. They will use that certificate number to register or log in to the GeoBlue website, and then they will have access to all of their tools. This includes the GeoBlue mobile app as well as the member portal on the website. They can find a doctor, clinic, or hospital and see detailed profiles about those on the website. Students can seek care from professionals not on the GeoBlue list if they don't see an appropriate clinician listed. If they have questions about this, they can contact the Global Safety and Health Office, or they can contact GeoBlue. Anytime access to telehealth care through telemed, so that's a nice benefit. There are no limitations for pre-existing conditions. Service requests can be made for non-urgent medical issues requiring continuing care, such as physician-administered treatments while abroad. Students would need to submit a request to GeoBlue's Global Health and Safety team through the Service Requests tab of the GeoBlue Member Hub or on the mobile app. Students who need to submit a service request for continuing care should do so as soon as possible. This will give GeoBlue's care team time to reach out to the student and the student time to find a provider they feel comfortable and confident seeing on a regular basis. For continuing care plans, students currently engaging with any health and well-being support services are strongly encouraged to speak with their healthcare provider, submit a service request to GeoBlue, and schedule an advising appointment with the Global Safety and Health team prior to departure. And these can include mental health counseling, the physician-administered treatments, so physical therapy, injury after care, intravenous or biological medications, etc. For the physician-monitored health conditions, this could be cardiovascular conditions, nervous system conditions, digestive conditions, etc. Chronic or recurrent health conditions such as POTS, chronic pain, acute anxiety, diabetes, etc. Prescription medications, so controlled medications, biologics, intramuscular medications, and others. And then the health and well-being accommodations such as mobility support, class aids, so audio and visual support, and mental health. So GeoBlue mental health. One of the nice benefits of GeoBlue is that in addition to the normal provision for mental health care for students, especially during a semester, they also have available to them the Global Wellness Assist program. And so this program is more of a incident specific or sort of a period if a student is, for example, struggling and they just need to have someone that they can sort of work with to help them work through what they're experiencing. And that would be sort of a more short-term type counseling. The Global Wellness Assist program allows for up to 6 sessions of counseling per issue per year, and these can be telemed or in person. And so that Global Wellness Assistant program does provide information, resources, and counseling on any work, life, personal, or family issue. There is no additional cost to use, and it is available in several languages. Please know that mental health services available in a student's program location are based upon the infrastructure in place in that location. Some countries do not have widespread systems designed to support mental health, and access to mental health support services may be limited. So this is one of the other reasons why the Global Wellness Assist program is helpful, is it helps cover any gaps that might exist on site. So for personal and academic accommodations, it's important to understand that those accommodations are not automatically transferred to their study abroad program, partner, or host university. Excuse me. Pardon me. Students who have accommodations at Vanderbilt will need to share this information with their study abroad program provider or host university. Students should contact VU Student Access Services to request they send a record of their accommodations on official letterhead to their program provider or host university before they arrive on site. The sooner the program receives this information, the easier it will be for them to do the research and see what can be reasonably accommodated. Not all accommodations can be met at every location. However, the on-site support staff will do their best to provide those reasonable accommodations on-site where possible. Accommodations that are available to students in the US are determined by Vanderbilt Student Access Services and their healthcare providers. The following may not be considered an accommodation: roommate requests. Friends are a great support system, but unless that friend is a licensed caregiver, they will not be considered as part of an accommodation. Single bathrooms or private kitchens. Controlled dietary restrictions, specifically dietary needs that do not cause anaphylaxis or dietary needs that can be met by preparing their own food. Commute time. Students will have a commute. Generally, their program provider will not have housing on its campus or near the center where the courses are held. Rather, the students will most likely be placed in housing in a residential part of the city and will have to commute to classes the same as local citizens. A student's commute could be over an hour and include walking and public transportation. If they have concerns about their commute time and feel they may need an accommodation, they need to reach out to Student Access Services, Global Safety and Health, and their program provider to discuss what their needs are. And there are going to be some limitations to accommodations for location, accessibility, and housing standards. In international cities, especially in historic international cities, are not the most accessible places for individuals who have mobility concerns. Many buildings are retrofitted to modernize them, but often have steeper stairways, smaller elevators, often requiring you to step up into, and few, if any, cane strikes. Restrictions on remodeling in an effort to preserve historic buildings and locations have led to few upgrades to them in terms of accessibility. Housing standards do not cross international borders. Living spaces are often smaller, especially in larger cities, may not have central air conditioning or large, easily accessible elevators. If a student has any questions about this, I would encourage them to reach out to their provider to ask about the specifics of the places where they will be having classes and their housing. And they can also reach out to our office. We're happy to assist with those questions. For international law, it's also important to know that the Americans with Disabilities Act does not apply outside the US. Many other countries do not have an equivalent to the Americans with Disabilities Act, which protects the rights and equality of individuals living with chronic health issues. A student's right to chronic health or academic accommodations may not be recognized in the countries they are going to. On-site support staff, however, will do their best to meet registered accommodations and advocate for students. However, in-country institutions such as universities may not be legally required to recognize and or take steps to meet a student's accommodations. The Global Health and Safety Team recognizes and abides by our students' right to privacy and confidentiality as outlined by FERPA and HIPAA. The Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, is a federal law that protects the privacy of a student's educational records. The law applies to all schools that receive funds under an applicable program of the U.S. Department of Education, including Vanderbilt University. Under FERPA, Vanderbilt Global Safety, Health, and VERT team members cannot disclose any information about a student's academic record or other personal information with anyone, parents and guardians included, without prior consent from the student. Without consent, only general directory information can be shared. Global Safety and Health and VERT cannot share the name of a student's study abroad program or location, which classes they're taking, what host university they may be attending, and or the emergency contact information for the program they are on. For HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act created a national standard for the protection of sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without the patient's consent or knowledge. So under HIPAA, Global Safety and Health and the VERT team members cannot and will not disclose any information about a student's health record with anyone, parents and support staff included, without prior consent from the student. Due to regulations outlined by FERPA and HIPAA and the nature of answering emergency calls, there is a good chance that VERT team members will be unable to verify any release of information students may have on file with Vanderbilt for FERPA and HIPAA. As a result, the VERT team will err on the side of upholding students' individual right to academic and personal health privacy. Should you contact VERT, a team member will more than likely only be able to give you generic information and will not share any information specific to a student's academics or well-being. In addition, it is also important to understand that other countries have their own privacy laws, which can be more strict than in the US. This can limit how much information local law enforcement or medical providers can share even with family. The U.S. Department of State, including U.S. embassies and consulates, are also bound by limitations outlined in the Privacy Act. The Privacy Act was enacted in 1974 to balance the government's need to maintain information about individuals with the rights of individuals to be protected against unwarranted invasions of their privacy. The importance of written consent to disclosure under the Privacy Act, which is called Privacy Act Written Consent, or PAW. Unless an exception or routine use applies, the Privacy Act requires a written consent by or the prior written consent of the individual for whom the record pertains before any such records can be released. And I added this one recently because of cases in the news recently with students overseas and frustrations of families regarding the information that they could and could not receive from local law enforcement, as well as the local embassy and consulates and consular officials. So that is the end, and we are now available for answering questions. And it looks like there's a question about someone having a HIPAA release and FERPA release signed and notarized for their student. You can provide that to VERT. You can email vert@vanderbilt.edu. I will say that in sort of an immediate response, it may take a while for our team to go back into those emails to find that. But yes, if you would like to send that to us, absolutely you can. If you would like to send us, so this is another question. Is there any way to notify VERT in advance so that in case of emergency, parents can step in and act in their children's best interests in accordance with pre-signed HIPAA and other healthcare documents? You could send us those documents with the understanding that in the immediate response, we're generally going to be working directly with the support team on site. And obviously, if we have that information, we can loop parents in more earlier. Generally speaking, program providers will not notify family unless the student is at greater risk for health than they would be if they had just gone for a medical checkup, for example. So, and again, all these forms need to be willingly signed by the student or the person. Again, if you would like to send us that information, we can keep it on file. But as you know, if we have an emergent situation that requires rapid response, it may not be immediate that we would be able to look up the forms first. So first is our priority is taking care of our student. So that's always going to be our priority. As things level out, then we will move to see who else can be looped in. So just to understand sort of how that functioning works. And Erin's going to add a little bit more information about that one. Okay. So the Peabody HOD capstone in London is not part of EU Study Abroad. However, those students have had an orientation, at least half of them have. And so from our office, and those who have not will be completing the online health and safety course. And where'd that question go? Oh, that question disappeared. So the HOD students are informed that they are required to enroll in GeoBlue using the Vanderbilt access code.
Yeah, I got that one, Isabel.
Yeah, I figured it disappeared. And just so you know, I've got both Tyler and Erin helping answer the questions. And we also have Jillian from the study abroad who's helping answer the study abroad questions that might pop up in here. All right, so FERPA and HIPAA forms, those need to be filled out and signed by the student. The student is the one that grants permission to someone to have access to their academic records or have access to their medical records. And there are a lot of questions about if we have specific HIPAA and FERPA forms. We can look that up. There probably is one on the registrar's website for the FERPA, but we can pull those and send those to as follow-ups to our colleagues in parents and family so that they can send those out, or we can add them specifically to our parents and families portion of the website, or do both. The price for insurance, nope, we didn't discuss the price for insurance. It is very reasonable, however. And it changes every year. We renew every year, and so that changes, but again, it is fairly reasonable. I don't have the exact monthly amount in my head right now. But that will be for study abroad students, that will be included in their program fee. So it's not a separate line item. So there's some additional GeoBlue questions in here, I think, that the team will be answering. How many credits can a student take in the fall study abroad program? The general load for a student will be 12 to 16 hours. That would be a normal load. Students can take really between 12 and 18. So 14 to 16 is the normal load, but 12 to 18, 18 would normally be the max. And students can't go under 12 because then they would be underloading by Vanderbilt standards. Let's see. All right. So I think the best probably here is going to be for the forms, I probably be best to just for us to link those on our parents and family page. And I think we're providing the forms to students. Actually, I think we're providing the forms to the study abroad students through their application. Tyler, is that accurate moving forward?
Say that again, Isabel.
That the HIPAA release form FERPA, are those going to be put into the student's application, the Vanderbilt application,
So
as a material
these forms
option?
right now can be accessed in their GeoBlue account once
Okay.
they are enrolled. For study abroad students, that will be a month before their program start date. So for the Vanderbilt study abroad students, they will be enrolled into their Geo Blue insurance about a month before their program start date. So
Yeah.
they'll have access to that portal. Within that portal, they will have access to that HIPAA form. So
Okay,
um,
but
that's
that's not coming to our office.
that will not come to our
Yeah.
office, but students can give parents or that access, or parents that ask students for that form so that they can have that on file and send that to us if they want to prior.
Okay. Right.
We are working with
Yep.
general counsel to see if that's something we can add to the application process, but that's that's nuanced because it is HIPAA related.
Yeah. So basically, if the form is not already in existence for Vanderbilt, then it does need review by general counsel. It has been sent for review, I believe. But in the meantime, GeoBlue has that'll be specific to, the students can indicate who GeoBlue can communicate with about their care if that becomes an issue. All right. Okay, let's see. There will not be another webinar specifically regarding housing accommodations. Because the housing information varies depending on the program. It's not the same across the board. Some programs will have only shared apartments, some will have dorm type living, some will have homestays, with a variety of amenities that will run the gamut of what's available and what's not. If there are questions, students will by now have received all the information of what the available housing is like. Many students will not find out about their housing assignment until soon before they leave. And so again, the students will have access to that information. And I know that Jillian is writing about open campus housing. So the students don't create, if the students are study abroad students, then they are automatically enrolled into GeoBlue. The students do not need to enroll themselves. However, if they are not going through the study abroad office, like the HOD students, or if they're doing an immersion experience abroad, those students will need to enroll themselves into GeoBlue, and that information is available on our website, where they can access that, and they can also access the code. There is a checklist that students who are doing independent travel can review that will give them all the steps that they need there. Okay. Right. So for the HIPAA and FERPA forms, the FERPA form that we would have access to is the one that the registrar has. For the HIPAA form, that is under review by general counsel as far as if it's a HIPAA form that we are allowed to share with our students, then general counsel will have to look at the language of that form before we can make that available. I think what Tyler was saying is that GeoBlue has a HIPAA form that would be turned into them as the health insurance company, and that would be separate from us, and that would probably be specific to communication between the GeoBlue and whoever's designated in that form to receive information. So if you want to send us the forms beforehand, I would recommend emailing those to either virt@vanderbilt.edu, VIRT@vanderbilt.edu. Our main email address, that's not the emergency related address, is globalsafety@vanderbilt.edu. Students, their passports, it depends on the consulate and how long that will take. They should have indicated on their websites how long that visa processing takes. So it'll vary, but if the student hasn't shared that information with you, you could ask them to provide that information as far as the visa process and the processing times for the different countries. Okay, let's see. My team is doing great answering all these questions. Please let us know if you have more. I think the main information that we'd like to ensure that our families know is the planning ahead, that continuing care, setting that up beforehand. Disclosing information is really key to a student's successful experience abroad. We have every year students who have ownership of their health and well-being. They share information about, if they're undergoing treatment and what for and what they need on site. Those are the students who are going to do well. Invariably, the students who run into issues are going to be the students who do have chronic conditions or are taking medications for certain conditions and have not disclosed that information to the program provider or to our office. We can't help if we don't know what a student needs. And so that often is a challenge for us in responding to a student who might be in crisis abroad. So I would please encourage your students to reach out to us sooner rather than later, and please encourage them to disclose. If they're not comfortable disclosing to our office, at the very least, they should disclose it to their on-site support, as those are the people on the ground who will speak for the students if the student cannot speak for themselves. So as a parent myself, please encourage them to do that. It will make all of our lives a lot easier. And we want our students to have a successful time abroad. Studying abroad is a wonderful experience. All right. If there are any additional questions, go ahead and add them to the Q&A. I'm looking at some of the previously submitted ones. I think all of those answers have been submitted in the chat. Includes the link to, in the chat, there's the link to the our study abroad parents and family page, and to the FERPA form. That. To my Q&A team, is there anything else that you think we should elaborate on or clarify? Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay. Are we good? All right. And are we at time now?
We are good.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate your time. If you have any questions for our office, please email globalsafety@vanderbilt.edu. We'll be happy to communicate with you. If you have questions about study abroad, then that would be studyabroad@vanderbilt.edu. Thank you so much. This will end our webinar.